You're listening to the Boss Yourself First podcast, Season 3, Episode 1. Hello, friends. Wow, it feels so good to be here again with you in this space. Welcome back to the Boss Yourself First podcast. Listen, you've never been far from my mind, even though it's been a bit. But over the past 2 years, honestly, as I walked through some seasons that reshaped me in really deep ways, which I'll get to in a minute, but I just kept catching myself thinking, "Ooh, I want to tell him this," or "Did you see that?" Kind of like you do with a close friend. And today I get to make those conversations real again. And I am so glad you are here. So this episode's both a reconnection and a beginning, a new beginning. It marks a new season, one born not out of perfect clarity, but lived experiences, tested truths, and a whole lot of grace. All right, so right from the start, I'm sharing that this season will focus on permission, the power of permission, the principles of permission, and the practice of permission, because you know I love alliteration. I also have to share a little something, and I might have shared this before, but when I have a particular focus, it tends to come out of my mouth, not just here in the podcast space, but in other places. And my family has been known to start sort of like a swear jar when I use that word. And I feel like I might have to give you permission to do that with the word permission. I see a swear jar in my near future. Anyway, we're talking about permission. Did I say that? Yeah. All right. So let me fill you in on why this is going to be the focus. And then we'll dive into exploring what permission means here in this space. So why permission? I don't want to leave you in the dark about the time we've been apart. And I want this episode to be like we're catching up, to be that reconnection, just like I said. And I'll be honest, the time I've been away from you guys has been really challenging season. Honestly, it's been hard and it's stretched me and reshaped me in ways I never imagined. We'll unpack more about the specifics of that a little later, but just to give you a little quick update, and I hesitate to even share it because it feels kind of heavy. But I want you to know. I want you to know where I've been. And gosh, I would like to know where you've been too. I have a vision of the things that have gone on with you. Here's what's been happening with me. So, in the past 3 years, I shepherded both my parents through profound health journeys, losing my mom to illness and helping my dad through major surgery and multiple moves. I recovered from a car accident that, yes, I did sustain some injury that took quite a bit, still actually healing almost 2 years later. But even more importantly, it just wrecked my nervous system. And I'm still working on that. Like I said, I'll share more about some of these things later on, perhaps. Anyway, amidst all of it, I continued coaching and teaching for University of Denver. I still love that work. And quietly, steadily, in starts and stops, I finished my book. I did finally. And the title is, guess what? 3 Permissions. Yeah, you saw that coming. I may have actually shared this in the early days of the podcast too. It's still the same book. I'm still working on the same project, but it's finally done. And shameless plug, it's coming out July 29th. I have the real date. It's actually happening. My hands are off of it now. So it is in the hands of the printer and publisher. And I'm excited to share that journey with you guys as well. Anyway, I'm sharing all that kind of to acknowledge that there's been a lot going on. And the theme of permission, remember, that's the whole point of what I'm telling you about why this is important to me. But this idea of permission, it's been this melody, this through line through this whole season of challenges. And I wanted to share that with you. I feel like I've held onto it for quite a while, and it's time to bring it out and bring it forward and share it with you because it is profoundly, deeply woven into how I have led myself through this season. And I don't want to take full credit. I've led myself. Part of self-leadership is knowing your resources, and I've had some amazing support and tapped into some powerful resources as well. And I've given myself permission to do that. And I want that for you too. All right, friends. So, like I said, not sharing this for sympathy, but this podcast has always been about real life self-leadership. And I want to make sure that I'm showing up authentically for you so that we can reconnect. Like I said, life just happens. And as we know, it doesn't pause for our plans. It hands us change. Sometimes that comes with loss. It's disruptive. It also hands us beauty and connection and meaning. I've learned a lot, not just about resilience or time management or surviving hard seasons, but something deeper. And I want to unpack that here with you in this comeback season of Boss Yourself First. All right, let's get clear on what I mean by permission. I'm going to give you the wordy definition, and then I'm going to give you the simple definition. So let's get clear on what I mean by permission. Permission is allowing and empowering yourself to go someplace new, challenging, uncomfortable. And it's not a one-time act of allowing, but a daily, sometimes moment by moment allowing and intentionally empowering that journey with strategies and agility and actions that keep you in this pace, this intentional pace that balances rest and forward movement. Now, that was the wordy definition. So for now, let's keep it fairly simple and just say, focus on allowing. Permission is allowing, not detaching, not distracting, and not marking some uncomfortable feelings, thoughts, or actions as off limits. Again, I have a pause. I have a hesitation to share this because it feels heavy, but it's real. Today, and actually for the next couple of episodes, I want to talk about a specific permission, and that's permission to grieve. Now, before you go thinking this is going to be super, super heavy, and some of you may even feel a little bit triggered, I can tell you right after the loss of my mom, I practiced avoidance as much as possible about anything that talked about loss or mothers, anything like that. So I get it if you're feeling triggered. I encourage you and invite you to stay with me because this isn't going to be heavy. It may invite you into a little discomfort, but I want you to know that what we're creating here in this episode is a space for hope. And the hope is that this challenge, whatever that is, becomes a treasured part of your story. And you're in this uncomfortable birthing process that's inviting you to grow, evolve, experience deeper richness, create bigger impact. Deep roots and strong limbs. That's what we're going for. And I know I'm not trying to go overboard with let's silver line this or anything like that, but I want to invite you to the idea that this will come. I know it's hard when you're in the middle of it. I call it the becoming stage. The fruit of this season will come, and that vision, even if it's blurry, that's the hope. So I want to encourage you and invite you to let go of needing to know how your current discomfort transform you, but just give yourself permission. You're going to give me that jar soon, I'm sure. Give yourself permission to check in with the uncomfortable feelings. Is there loss? Are you experiencing grief at some level? And rest in the vision that even if it feels blurry, like I said, or really far away, the fruit's coming. I want our time together to feel a bit like an exhale. Let those shoulders drop. A recognition that all that you've carried, all that we've carried, an invitation to notice the process of transformation that this challenge catalyzes. Let's begin at the beginning with awareness. Don't feel like I'm setting a big obstacle in front of you. We're going to be about creating awareness. Remember what I said. This is about hope. Hope that we're not staying stuck in these uncomfortable feelings. Hope that there is reason and results that come from this moment, this particular challenge, whatever that is for you. So it's hope, not the glittery kind that skips over the pain, not the forced kind that demands that silver lining, but the real grounded hope that says, even here, something good can grow. Because hope doesn't erase grief. It walks beside it. It whispers, you're not done. This isn't the end. It reminds us that even in the messiest moments, we still have access to meaning and movement forward. Okay, getting a little heavy. Lightening back up a little bit in saying that when I'm talking about grief, yeah, part of what's been going on with me is the loss of a loved one, but grief is not just about that. We experience moments of grief over many different aspects of our life. So that can be part of it, but also it can show up as like, you got this great new job, but that means you have to move and you really love your home. There's a grieving there. Or watching your children grow up and you're so excited for them to see them step into adulthood, but that also means they're leaving home. Or changing jobs that maybe kind of shifts the way you see yourself, or letting go of a dream, or even a version of yourself. So little grief moments. It can even be the loss of an object, of letting go of something that was really important to you for a time, but it's not something you want to carry into the next season. There's a little bit of grief in there. So once you kind of see there's this spectrum of grief, and I want us to be able to notice it. That's what I'm inviting you to remember, is to notice. Grief is the feeling that something meaningful is no longer a part of your reality. And here's the key: the loss, wherever it lands on that spectrum, deserves processing. It deserves presence. I also want you to make sure you notice, and maybe you don't already know this, but our brains don't love discomfort. Our brains are wired to treat discomfort like a threat and to move us away from pain as fast as possible. So we got to boss ourselves, right? Boss our brains. And that's that act of giving permission to draw close to discomfort with compassion, without judgment. We're going to observe it, to name it, to be with it. It's not easy, but it actually is very freeing because you don't have to spend your energy trying to ignore it or distract from it, distance yourself from it. It's exhausting. Also, I want to make sure you notice that grief sometimes is a traveling companion with more desirable feelings and emotions: joy, pride, excitement, even gratitude. But we still need to honor it. I've learned personally and through my work with clients that we need permission to feel loss as well as a plan to process it. Because sometimes I think it doesn't come naturally. Like I said, our brains want us to just get away from it by whatever means work. But to really get the value, to plant seeds for that fruit, oh, we got to process it. And we need a little help with that sometimes, some support with that. So we need to give ourselves the grace to sit with the uncomfortable emotions, to resist the impulse to push past or to rationalize, and to stop waiting for someone else to say it's okay to feel this, because you're enough to give yourself that permission. Permission to allow yourself to stop struggling and float to the top of grief's deep water and not drown. And I love that picture. Think about that. Think about when you're floating, because most of us have experienced that. I feel like it's something that we can kind of all relate to. Think about what you notice when you just are floating. You notice the temperature of the water. You notice the contrast of the sun coming down and warming you, and the cool on your back from the water beneath you, the deep water that you can't even see the bottom of sometimes. That feeling of being held. Notice the splashing sounds around you. Or you see birds in the sky soaring overhead. Just think about that noticing aspect. That's the kind of noticing I want to invite you into with grief. You do with all your feelings, but specifically today we're focused on the grief. All right, so since it's been a minute from the last episode, and also for those of you who are new here, welcome in. I always like to leave you guys with something tangible and action you can take right now to make whatever insights you've taken from the episode sticky and to support your work in self-leading. I want it to feel like this is helping you. This is moving you forward. You're getting value out of this. And so this week's action is the noticing. But I also want to give you that little bit of a process, a little bit of a structure. I invite you to write it down and for the learning to take root, like I said, to make it sticky. So here's this process. You don't have to do it this way, but I want to give it to you in case you're like, great, I have to notice it. Now what? Here you go. From me to you. So the very first thing is name that loss. If you've noticed an area where there's been a grief, and remember, it doesn't have to be the loss of a loved one. It can be an object that you've let go of, or maybe it got damaged. It could be a loved one. It could be the loss of a job. It could be, remember, we went through a lot of examples. So name the loss. Think about what shifted, what ended, what changed, whether it's big or small. Go ahead and name it. Make it real, right? Real things can be observed and learned from. Notice the feelings that come up as you name the loss. What are you feeling about it? And be honest with yourself. Sadness, anger, relief, confusion, numbness. Remember, you may also find some desirable emotions in there that we talked about. Sometimes joy is in there, gratitude can be in there, but get them all down. Notice those feelings, be specific, let yourself be human. And then I want you to actually even say this part. And it doesn't have to be exactly these words, but your version of it. It's okay to feel these things. And I don't have to rush through it. I'm allowed to grieve, to process, and to be tender with myself. The last thing, and maybe you've been doing it all along, is to record it. And I don't necessarily mean like this. I mean, write it down. Say it out loud. If you want, share it with somebody. Let it be messy. Let it be beautiful. Let it be both, because that's healing. All right, that's my action for you. So I would appreciate if you try it and you're okay sharing it. I would love to hear about it. You can DM me. You can email me at robin@bossyourselffirst.com. Share your reflections, share your questions, share your permission story. You can use permission as much as you want. All right. So I might even bring some of those into the podcast because this season isn't just about my story. Remember, we're catching up, we're reconnecting. It's about our story. Just so you know, some of the housekeeping things, you can also sign up for my email at bossyourselffirst.com. And this is like first to know kind of moments, maybe some special interviews and some resources. I have 2 newsletters. One, the Shade House letters. I'm really excited about that. It's a monthly newsletter. It invites you into my journey so that we can unpack some things that we don't unpack here. And then the other one that I have is called 3 on Thursday, and it's just quick hit of self-leadership, and it shows up weekly. So those are fun. You can sign up for either one or both, whatever works for you. But I want to circle back because we're going to move on. What's coming this season? So as I mentioned earlier, this season is not just about grief. It is about permission, and we're going to explore permission in so many forms. I'll just name a few: permission to pivot, permission to rest, permission to want more, permission to create, permission to be inspired, permission to speak up, permission to slow down. So we're going to share that here in this space. We're going to explore all aspects. I'm going to share stories from my journey. Maybe some of you, if you share them with me, I will bring them forward here. But also, I will be having some wonderful, amazing guests. They're funny and they're wise and they're fierce. Some of them will have overcome challenges that inspire us. Some of them are experts in their field, and we're going to learn from them. Together, we're going to unpack what it means to boss yourself first from the inside out. So if you're carrying something today, back to our closing, I want to wrap it up for you. If you're carrying something tender today, if you've been walking through your own season of change or loss, I just want to say you have permission to grieve. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to grit and try harder to be resilient around it. You just need space to be and to know that hope can exist even here. Welcome back to the conversation, my friends, and we are just getting started. So I'll see you next week here on Boss Yourself First. Take care, everybody.